Hello and welcome to my quilted tablecloth tutorial. I'm Rachelle Craig from Rachelle Handmade. In this tutorial, I will walk you through the steps to make your own quilted tablecloth or lightweight picnic quilt. Pre-washing your fabric. While I prefer not to pre-wash my quilt fabrics for other projects, I really like the crinkly look, I choose to pre-wash my fabrics for this project. Why? Pre-washing means less shrinking and crinkles, and for a tablecloth project, you kind of don't want the crinkles there while you're eating. Fabric shrinks when it's been washed and dried. If you wash your quilt after you've sewn it together, the fabrics will likely shrink and crinkle. If you pre-wash before sewing, you can avoid this. Here are the supplies you'll need for your project. 10 fat quarters, which includes one extra in case your fabrics shrink excessively in the wash. If you're not pre-washing, you can get by with just using 9 fat quarters. You also need 2 yards of low volume print for the center. I chose a nice light gray floral print. 3/8 of a yard for the inner border, 5/8 of yard for the binding, 3 3/4 yards for the backing, and 3 3/4 yards of muslin or quilting cotton for the batting. For a note on the batting, I wanted my tablecloth to be loose and drape well over the edges of my table. You can absolutely use your regular low loft batting for this project, but even the lowest loft cotton batting would be a bit too heavy for my taste. Plus, back to the pre-wash shrinkage issue, it's less hassle to pre-wash a piece of quilting cotton fabric than batting. For my tablecloth, I chose to feature Shelley Cavanna's Snowfall from Benartex Fabrics. It has 25 lovely fabrics in a wintry color palette. I chose this line because it's holiday-esque, but includes teals, blues, and pinks that wouldn't holler holidays, so I could use it year-round. The small to medium prints make it great for both modern and contemporary quilters alike. First, you'll need to pre-wash your fabrics. Cut the raw edges of all of your fabrics using pinking shears, or use a pinking rotary blade. This helps prevent the edges of the fabric from fraying into a tangly mess. You can get a pinking blade at your local quilt shop. Wash your fabric with color catchers. Dry your fabric in the dryer until it's just damp. This is key. Iron until completely dry to remove all the wrinkles. Next, you'll need to cut your fabric. From your fat quarters, cut 15 5-inch squares. From your low volume print, cut one piece 37 by 59.5. We'll get into how to cut that best in the next steps. A couple pieces of border fabrics, 2.5 inches, and also 2.5 inch with the fabric binding strips. For this project, I chose to use the traditional 2.5 inch binding and adjusted my seam allowance to make a slightly wider binding. Since there's no batting, you can experiment yourself with a 2-inch to 2.25 inch binding. Cutting your fabric for the centerpiece. Fold your fabric in half along the 42-inch width, matching the selvages as closely as possible. Then you'll fold your fabric in half along the length. Note the orientation of the folds. You'll have one fold on the side and 2 folds on the bottom. Trim your fabric to 18.5 inches wide by 29.25 inches long. When unfolded, the fabric will measure 37 inches by 59.5. Next, you'll sew on your borders. Sew a 2.5 inch by 37 inch piece to each side. Then you'll sew on the top and the bottom a 2.5 by 63.5 inch piece. Next, you'll make your side borders. Randomly piece 5-inch squares to form 2 rows of 9 5-inch squares. Sew the rows together and make 2 sets. Trim these to 9 inches by 41 inches. Then make your top and bottom borders. Randomly piece together 5-inch squares to form 2 rows of 18 5-inch squares. Sew your rows together, make 2 sets, and trim to 9 by 81.5. Next, you'll sew your borders on. Sew on the sides first, and then the top and bottom pieces. Next, you'll layer and baste your quilt. Layer your backing, wrong side up, then add your muslin or quilting cotton as batting, and then your piece top, right side up. Baste using your preferred method. Quilt and bind your piece. Quilt using a loose design so the tablecloth is not stiff. The more dense the quilting design, the more stiff your tablecloth is going to be. Square up the quilt, trimming your excess backing and batting. Piece and press your binding, and then sew it on. Finally, congratulate yourself on a job well done. This piece can be used as a tablecloth, a picnic quilt, or a decorative throw or summer quilt. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, Rachelle, on Instagram at Rachelle_handmade or email me at hello@RachelleHandmade.com. Thanks for joining me in this tutorial.